you? A very good afternoon to a lady who's going to be clarity, class, decorum to this show. Anna Mihailova, Deputy Political Editor of the Mail on Sunday. A very good afternoon. Why are you not watching the football, Anna? What's wrong with you?
Well, first of all, I didn't agree to come on for that long.
Oh.
Well,
Put
I mean,
me
the
right in my place.
The football doesn't start till 5. She can do this interview and watch the football.
Are you going to watch the football, or are you going to keep listening to me, Anna? Come on, be honest.
I'm going to find a TV screen in Parliament and watch the football and do some
He's
work at the
already
same
hit
time.
the back of the net. You see, Saggers is upset now. You've hit the back of the net. Anna, welcome to the show. I'm going to start with you and Pete. Saggers, take a breath. Don't go anywhere. I have to say to both of you, and I'll start with you, Anna. The director of campaigning for the Conservative Party is taking a leave of absence while he's being investigated over an alleged bet on the date of the general election. His wife is facing inquiry by the Gambling Commission. A close protection police officer has been arrested and bailed. The parliamentary private secretary popped into Ladbrokes and had £100 at 4 to 1. He's under problems as well. I honestly have to ask you, you've looked at, I guess, several elections and several campaigns. I don't think I've ever known such a debacle. Every opinion poll says the Tories will be wiped out. And from day to day, it's just getting worse for Sunak with no sign of it getting better, Anna.
Well, I mean, as some people have pointed out, perhaps the director of campaigning taking a leave of absence in this current campaign is not the worst thing for Rishi Sunak, considering how it's going.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not great at all. It's absolutely appalling is what it is. And I think it's a sort of, it's yet another example of the Westminster bubble just being a bubble and completely being at odds with how the country actually thinks. And when people look at it, it's no surprise that people are disgusted. They're turned away from politics altogether.
And it's very interesting, isn't it, Pete, just to bring you in. Is it true you two went to university together?
We did.
I thought she was much younger than you.
She looks it.
I am. Hold on.
Yes.
Just a couple of years above.
Quite right. Well said. Yes.
Anna was a child prodigy. She was.
Was she?
Yes.
And she's achieved so much, and you not so much. So.
Well, yeah. I'm here. She's on the Mail on Sunday. So. Yeah.
2-0 to Anna. She's hit the back of the net again. I'm doing it now. Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan's just giving. Anna's right. I mean, this whole campaign has been a farce, almost a disaster. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who said that even at that moment, when the first thing that he said was number one on his list, which was to bring inflation down, even yesterday when it hit 2%, because of calling this election early, by the time any interest rates happen and any credit is given, if you listen and watch the polls, it'll be the Labour Party that get that. I mean, have you ever known a more disastrous call than Sunak's early election call? Seriously.
It was a disastrous call. It brought him absolutely no long-term gain. There was a thought that he was on that he put Reform UK, for example, and the Labour Party on the hop. That hasn't been the case at all. Their lead has grown. Labour's lead has grown. Reform UK have done very, very well. Even the Liberal Democrats and Greens as well. So we're in a situation where basically nothing Rishi Sunak has chosen to do has gone well, and forces that are probably outside his control, such as the scandal over gambling, just confirms...
Well, surround yourself. Hold on a second. I'm going to stick up for me old mucker Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was castigated for their people, quite rightly, inside number 10, Partygate and Dominic Cummings. I mean, you have to question Rishi Sunak's judgment, not just his own political judgment. Head of campaigning, the wife, the protection officer, the parliamentary private secretary, left the D-Day things. It's been an absolute shambles.
And as I said, he's made some absolutely disastrous decisions, and there are things that have happened. I mean, I don't think there's any suggestion that Rishi Sunak knew about the bets, for example, beforehand, but the fact that this has happened confirms so many people's suspicions about those at the heart of government, those in Westminster. Anna's absolutely right that there are people on the make and on the take, and I think that there are lots and lots of suspicions, lots of worries, lots of annoyance, I think, with the political class in this country, and especially the Conservative Party as well.
Anna, do you, in your role as Deputy Political Editor of the Mail on Sunday, I'm sure you've interviewed hundreds of politicians. Are you surprised at how appallingly, and I'm not being disrespectful, I have to balance it, but how appallingly Sunak seems to have done, how badly this campaign has been formulated and has turned out, and also that a man who was, as somebody pointed out to me yesterday, during the pandemic, he could have walked on water. He was the most popular politician this side of wherever. Now, one of the most, I mean, they're not listening to him. There's pure anger towards him, the length and breadth of this country. That's what we're told.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's not that hard to be popular when you're giving away loads of money,
yeah,
borrowing millions, borrowing billions. and frankly adding to the upcoming crisis by borrowing quite so much. Now, and everyone said that about Rishi Sunak. It's true, he was popular. He was dishy Rishi, and frankly, he wasn't just popular in the country. I would also point out, I used to cover the Treasury. He was very, very always popular with everyone he's worked with. So civil servants love him because he's competent, he's hardworking, he's smart. Now, does that make him a good politician? And crucially, does that make him a good prime minister? No. Am I surprised? Not really, because I think that it was very clear the way he handled the non-dom scandal about his wife, that he was not political enough. He just didn't have the political antenna. And people said it at the time. It's why a lot of MPs did not want to back him for the leadership when he went for it. And frankly, they have been proven right. And privately, that is what they say. And there's extreme annoyance at some of the people around Rishi Sunak, like Oliver Dowden, his long-term ally and friend, who specifically told him, MPs privately, when they express these concerns, don't worry, we'll fix this. You know, we're aware he's not that political. We're aware he's not that good at playing this game, because it is at the end of the day. And then they didn't, funnily enough. So, but I think the level of unforced errors of this campaign has surprised everyone. And
I think the interesting thing as well, Pete, to just bring you back in, and I completely agree with Anna there, is that there isn't great love for Starmer. And when you look at that YouGov poll and the Ipsos poll yesterday, a majority of over 200 that eclipses Thatcher in 83, that eclipses Blair in 1997. I mean, I sat here yesterday and I wasn't very popular for saying it. Any competence on the Tory side should have been straight into how the hell are you going to pay for this to the Labour Party. But we've had none of that. We've just had disaster after debacle after horror show. And that's the reality.
But the public finances, from the Conservatives' point of view, have not been dealt with well under Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak. No. Taxation has gone up hugely to the highest burden it's been for 70 years as a proportion of what the country earns. So the ground on which the Conservatives can attack Labour is thin. And actually, when all Labour has to say is make some, you know, they have a long manifesto, 133 pages, but within that, they're not giving a lot of detail about what they would do in individual things. They will say there's plenty of detail and they will be questioned about it. And there's a big debate tonight as well after the football. That's fair enough.
What score do you think it's going to be?
I think Starmer will win, probably 1-0. I don't know. Oh, the England match.
Well done. I'll do humour. You do political nerdness. Anna, very good. We talked about whether you believe, people were shocked with Sunak. Can we just ask you your opinion? We had Richard Tyson earlier. Reform have been lambasted, he says, and a lot of people contacting this station say there's something happening out there. Do you believe that Reform, even if they get a small number of seats, whether they do or not, will be a potent force going forward? Do you think that the Tory party will have to be, I don't know the right way to describe this, to be raised to the ground, to be rebuilt, in effect, is what I'm trying to say badly?
I mean, it depends how you define potent force. It already is a potent force in that it's completely split the right. However, we do have an electoral system that just favours two parties. I mean, you can complain about it all you like, but every electoral system has people who aren't happy.
Do you think if Reform, if there is this rise of people wanting to support them, let's just say they get 20% in the general election, do you not think in time, both of you, that would lead to pressure from the people of this country to change the electoral system, Anna?
Well, I mean, you just talk about people being more interested in the football than politics. I think when you start drilling down to how many people are not only interested in politics, but also specifically interested in changing the electoral system, I think you're going to get into a real minority in this country. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You know, people should have more things they're interested in. I think that cynically, Labour has, of course, previously, possibly toyed with the idea of change electorally, but when it's benefiting him this much, if the polls do end up being correct, why on earth would they change it?
Anna's right. There's no incentive for the situation to change. The Liberal Democrats, for example, have wanted PR, a proportional system for a very long time. There's also the fact that we had a referendum a few years ago on the alternative vote system. People didn't want it.
Well, actually, can I just say that we've managed to find a clip, this gambling probe into the Tory party. The campaign director, just to repeat it for tuning in, instead of watching the football. The campaign director for the Tories has taken a leave of absence because his wife's been caught. Well, she's been grabbed by the Gambling Commission. There's a close protection officer been arrested and bailed because he's allegedly had a bet, and the parliamentary private secretary to Sunak. So there's all a bit of a betting probe. This was Ed Davey, who we convinced not to throw himself off a diving board, to actually say something genuine. This is him reacting to the betting probe, peeps.
I think it's quite awful. The idea that you bet on something that you know the result, that is immoral, it is illegal, and I can't believe people at the top of the Conservative Party are doing this and have allowed this to happen. This is corruption, frankly, and it needs to have a heavy hand from the top. Well, we think there should be a Cabinet Office inquiry. I think the Gambling Commission will rightly look at this, and I hope they come down heavy on those people who look like, I haven't seen the details, but they look like they've acted illegally and immorally.
That was Ed Davey, leader of the Liberal Democrats, responding to this gambling alleged probe. This is Sir Keir Starmer.
This candidate should be suspended, and it's very telling that Rishi Sunak has not already done that. If it was one of my candidates, they'd be gone and their feet would not have touched the floor. There's a wider point here that you touch on, which is we've now had 14 years of chaos, of division, of politics being about self-entitlement. And politics needs to be about service, about public service. And that is one of the choices now going into this election. More of this, or turn the page, rebuild the country and return politics to service.
Anna, just to finish with you, does he look prime ministerial to you, Keir Starmer? He's had a new haircut. He's very clipped, isn't he? He's very controlled. It's the Ming Vase approach. He's not saying anything that's too outrageous. Do you think he's going to? Do you think if he wins, do you think he's going to be good at the job?
Well, on his appearance, no, he's changed up his glasses. I think that's been a campaign choice. Look, I mean, certainly on D-Day he looked prime ministerial when the prime minister left early. I just put it there. But equally, I think does he look prime ministerial in the old possible Tony Blair tradition of not answering questions? I also think that, because all the questions on tax and all the questions, he's just completely swerving them. He doesn't need to answer them, but should that be how it is? No, I don't think it is.
And that is exactly what the Tory government should be doing to him, but they won't be able to. Really appreciate you being on. Anna Mihailova, you go and watch the football then. You're not going to stay and watch? No? You're not going to make me feel better? No. Brilliant, great. Anna Mihailova, Deputy Political Editor of the Mail on Sunday.